During my presentations to grade 3, 4, 5, 6, I talk at the end about all the amazing things kids can do online. Coding, blogging, app development, robotics, podcasting. A question I get asked often is, how do you create a podcast? Well, there are many different ways, but I always tell the kids in the presentation, it's actually really, really simple. And so through this conversation we're going to have, I want to show you, parents and guardians, how easy it is for your child to create their very own podcast. And you might be saying, all right, is it safe? Because Paul, you're all about online safety. Yes, it is. When I talk about something such as podcasting or blogging, I always understand the platform and how it can positively or negatively impact an individual. And when I talk about coding, blogging, app development, robotics, podcasting, those are the most positive things our kids can do online, so long as they have some understanding and, of course, some guidance from their parents, their guardians, their caregivers. So let's talk about why create a podcast, the requirements to create a podcast, how to do certain things, and then when you create that podcast, what are the next steps? So why create a podcast? Well, number one, it's safe and fun. You literally record your voice, your ideas, your thoughts, you post them up online, you share them with the world. Here's what's great about creating a podcast. You share your ideas. You can talk about whatever. You want to talk about your favorite hobbies, your favorite interests, athletes, musicians. You want to inspire and change the world? Go ahead and do it. There are no limits. Well, there is a limit, your imagination, in terms of what you could podcast about. And did you know that when you create a podcast, you're building a positive digital footprint? Now, let's say you create a podcast about your favorite sports club. And in 3 years from now, you don't want to do that anymore. But during the time that you create that podcast, you talk about the amazing things that you loved about your sports club. Maybe it's something that you took a passion in yourself. Maybe you started a business, a hobby, whatever. You may not want to talk about that in 5, 6, 10 years from now. But when someone looks you up online, they'll say, hey, what have you done to inspire and change the world? You say, well, you know what? When I was a young teen, preteen, I opened up a podcast and here was my idea. And you know what? They might listen to it. And they might say, you know what? That's amazing. As a young individual, you took technology and you tried to make a difference in the world. That can only be positive. It's not going to be negative. What are the requirements for a podcast? This is what I tell kids. You need a computer or a tablet. You need a microphone. You need internet access. If you're watching me right now, I'm pretty sure you have all three of those. Your computers have microphones built in. Your tablets have microphones built in. Your phones, you can create a podcast on a phone, has a microphone built in. You can buy external microphones. Now, because you have that, combine it with the internet to record and upload, that is all you need. And of course, your parents and guardians' permission. This is going to be something we work with collectively. We want to make sure they understand that we're creating something and the world will listen to it. So, content. Talk about whatever you want. Literally. You come up with the idea, you talk about it. Now, there's two ways you can create a podcast. You can script it, or you can just ad-lib. Just come up with the idea and talk. Frequency. Do you want to create the podcast weekly, monthly, or a whenever approach? I like the whenever approach. That's the one that I use when I create a podcast. Now, do you want to create a podcast for an hour at a time, 30 minutes, or do you just want to wing it and say, you know what, today is going to be a 15-minute podcast and tomorrow's going to be a 30-minute podcast and next month it'll be an hour because we have some special guests. You are not restricted to the frequency or the time. Do it when you want. How do you record? Well, this is actually really simple. You can record it offline and then upload it. You can use a podcasting platform that allows you to log on, record, save, and publish. Or you can create it online as a video along with audio and have two options for how you will share it through voice and through video. Now, what's my strategy? Well, you may or may not know that I have a podcast with an amazing individual by the name of Sarah Westbrook. And we have a podcast called What We Know. Now, here's how we do it. We come up with an idea. After we have that idea, we plan a date. When are you free? Because of Sarah's schedule and my schedule, sometimes it's difficult, but we fix a date, we put in our calendars, and we are committed to it. Then on that date, we get together online, we record unscripted. We literally take an idea and we talk about it with my knowledge base and her knowledge base. And because we know each other well, the conversation just flows. Now, after we record it, we upload it. We don't edit, we don't add music. You could, that's an option. We choose not to. We just want to make it what's called raw. We record it, we upload it, you listen to it. Now, how do we do this? Well, I use a platform called StreamYard. I'm not being sponsored by StreamYard. I'm telling you, it's a platform I pay for monthly because of its first. In fact, I even use StreamYard to deliver presentations virtually to schools when I'm requested to do a virtual presentation. It is that easy to use. So when we get onto StreamYard, and by the way, the link is in this posting. If you look at it after you listen to me, you'll get a link to StreamYard. And with StreamYard, and just so you know, this is what I'm using right now to communicate to you. I'm using the StreamYard platform. So with StreamYard, we can record video and audio by ourselves. But because we work together, she logs in to her account, I log into my account. We're brought into the screen at the same time, and we talk. Because we are using StreamYard, we can send a link to another person, a guest, and we can invite them on, and they can be part of our podcast. Now, after we've completed all that, we download both the video and the audio. Because what Sarah likes to do is she likes to take our video component, which is what you're looking at right now, and she uploads it to her YouTube channel. But then we take the audio component and we upload it to Spotify. So we can actually split the video and the audio, and we can download both. So here's a little screenshot. Let me go a little full screen on you. So this is what it looks like when Sarah and I get together. I'm on one side of the screen, she's on the other. So we're actually looking at each other and we're talking, we're engaging. That's what makes this podcast so real, is we get to engage. It's if we're in the room next to each other talking. We've invited guests. So here's an example of when we've invited a guest onto our podcast. So Sarah and I are still in the stream. We've invited another person, and we're all recording our audio and our video. After we do that, we download it. And again, you can, if you go to Sarah's YouTube channel, you can see the video component. And if you go to Spotify, you can hear just the audio component. So after the recording, what do we do? Well, you have a choice. You can download just the audio and upload it, or you can do like Sarah and I do. You can download the video and share that as well. Because you guys are just starting out, and parents, I know privacy is a big issue, and I respect that because that's what I talked about. Right now, I recommend just audio only. I would think it'd be cool if they could have a video recording on their computer, but that's it. You don't want to upload it just yet. Later on, when they're older and you're okay with them sharing their video, by all means. But right now, let them just download the audio and video for themselves, take the video file, the audio file, and upload that for the podcasting platform. After you record, you share your content, or you can add music at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. And of course, you can edit it. Now, why do I choose not to add the music and the editing? It takes a lot of time, and respectfully, we don't have that time to invest in it. We like our strategy of just recording and uploading. But if you have that time, and students, I think you do. You can take your recording, add some music at the beginning, add some music at the end, maybe throw some music in at the middle, start editing the clips. You have all the time in the world to do it. By all means, do it. So when we do our What We Know podcast, which by the way is linked in this video, we use the audio and the video, as I stated earlier. One component for podcasts and one component for YouTube. So now what do? We've created. Next step is you upload it for the whole world to hear. Another link that's in this video is the platform that I use. Sarah and I use Spotify for podcasters. It used to be called Anchor.fm. And if you type in Anchor.fm, you'll be forwarded to know it's called Spotify for podcasters. But it's not just for Spotify. They will allow you to publish to any other platform that you would like. So when we finish our audio component, my responsibility is I upload it to Spotify for podcasters. Now, we created the graphic arts. You can see in the top left-hand corner over there, the picture of Sarah and myself. So we created that art. So every time we create a new podcast, that art is part of the podcast. And recently we recorded episode 16, which was called Taking a Break from Technology. We uploaded, the artwork is automatically associated with it. So when people go to Spotify and they look at the podcast, maybe they want to read a description before they listen to it, this is what they will see. We also have an option, as you can see here, to share that podcast to Amazon Music, to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you want. You can share that podcast through this platform that I'm using right now and that I've linked in the description. Now, what do? Well, it's up there. Tell everyone. Listen to my podcast. I can't make that any easier. I know your parents will share it with all their friends. Maybe they'll make it part of their playlist. Your parents are going to listen to it. Your friends are going to listen to it, because when you go back to school and you say, hey guys, you know what I did over the past couple of weeks? I created a podcast. I'm guessing they're going to listen to it as well. You might inspire another one of your friends, a classmate, to open up their very own podcast. That's it. I wish I could drag this on for an hour. There's nothing more to talk about. It is that simple. And parents, I hope you found this of interest, that you and your child could sit back later on and say, all right, we've processed all this. We talked about safety. We talked about the ease of use. We already have the hardware. All we need to do now is come up with an idea, make sure parents and guardians, you approve of it. And before anything is uploaded, make sure that you have the approval of your parents and guardians, because they may want to listen to the words you chose, the phrases you used. It's really important, because what you may say, which you think could be comical in one capacity, somebody else may see it differently. And that's why you like to have a third party. That's actually a second party. It's called your parents and guardians, to listen to it. You know, when Sarah and I create our podcast, we have copies of it. We will go through it, but we know that what we said, we don't modify. But just in case, we will always do an audit of it. That's what we call it, an audit. I hope you've enjoyed this. Until next time, thank you for joining me. I'll come up with some more ideas for you in a further episode. Okay, put that break there intentionally because I will modify this video and I will upload it to YouTube later on. So if you do have any questions, please type them in the comments section. I'll bring them up on screen. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. I'm just going to take a really quick break and come back and answer any questions you may have. So just type them in. And what I will do is, just like you see on the screen, welcome, please type your questions. I will bring that up on the screen. I will read it off to you and I will respond to all of you, should you and your children have any questions. Thank you. Another project. You're very welcome. Yeah, you know, this is what's great, is that these projects take up time. This is what we call positive screen time. Why? Because we are utilizing their brilliant minds to create and share and inspire the world. So if this can help you out in terms of making online life more positive, I'm glad I could help you. All right, now I got to take a quick break, but feel free to type in your questions. I'll be right back.